Hello everyone, Liam here. Welcome to Rogue Miniatures and welcome to my hobby table. So, pretty exciting video for me today. I've got my copy of Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness through. 6 weeks early actually, in fact, than I was due to get it, so that was quite a good, big surprise for me the other day. So really I've tried to somewhat stay off the Games Workshop hype train for this. So I know that they had a released video, which I think was all CGI. There was no actual plastic in it. I kind of watched a bit of that, but I know with sort of Games Workshop, they can be somewhat, create these what the FOMO boxes or whatever. So I tried not to get too much caught up in all the hype surrounding it. I wanted to see really what the sort of reception was of this, and sort of a bit more about what the plans for having Horus Heresy Age of Darkness as a new sort of like game system, and what was going to be coming out for that. I'm obviously aware there's Horus Heresy's been around before, but it's largely been through Forge World and not with plastic minis. So obviously I'm not living under a rock, so I have seen somewhat of what's inside this and what it comes with, which was kind of what confirmed me, confirmed to me that I wanted to actually to go out and pay money for this. But I've not really got too much into, I've tried to stay away from a lot of people's sort of YouTube videos around it and the just a general hype and stuff that being put on Warhammer community and all that kind of stuff. So this is real sort of in a way quite nostalgic for me, sort of seeing we're getting back to sort of the mini marines again, although this is like a 30k setting rather than 40k, which we're kind of all used to. It's all will be surrounding the events leading up to and during the Horus Heresy, when you sort of play out missions or campaigns or whatever with this, Space Marine versus Space Marine. But to see them sort of go back to the mini marines, as I kind of knew them when getting into the actual hobby. When I got into it, it was like second edition. I guess around 96 it probably would have been, but I was obviously aware of Rogue Trader, being first edition, and these are kind of reminiscent of some of the Marines that were with the actual Rogue Trader, the really old out of production metal minis, and with the studded armor. I think this is the Mark 6, isn't it? This sort of armor style, and just a bit of lore to behind these studs, that these are basically bolted on extra armor, and it was meant to be on the sort of the side of the marine that would have been facing the enemy when they were shooting. So usually you'll see that they have studs on the shoulder pad, shown here, and sometimes on the front leg, and occasionally on the helmet as well. It's a nice little detail there. If you actually just look closely at the shoulder pad, you can see the first layer of shoulder pad, and then the second layer which is bolted on, although it does show that on this side as well, even though it doesn't have the studs. I think the actual box is quite a good representation of what's in it. Obviously there's been in the kind of promo stuff, they've had the Sons of Horus and Poor Little Dead Imperial Fist here. I think Sons of Horus are always going to be sort of definitely part of the promo stuff and box art, and that with it being the Horus Heresy. So, but yeah, you can see we've got some of the tactical marines here, the Spartan tank, the Contemptor Dread in the background, with some of the Cataphracti Terminators in front of it. Obviously we talked about the Imperial Fist being part of the promo, and with the Sons of Horus, and then just here you can see one of the Praetors that's actually included in the box, which is and you actually get two of these guys. I think the way that they've tried to set it up is that like this is enough for you to get started if you want to have like the start of two armies. So they've put two leaders in it so you can actually like battle them off against each other, and split up the forces however you want. But I think in truth, people that are going to buy this is going to be a bit like me. They're going to you'll get two leaders, but you're probably going to choose one for initially and have all the models in here as one force. I think just other sort of interesting things is the Titans in the background. I mean, I would doubt very much that Titans will be included in the like an actual tabletop game if you were playing the Horus Heresy, but interesting to see if there's a bit of with Adeptus Titanicus or something like that, if there's going to be sort of like crossover between them. You play campaigns where it's two different like separate games going on, but they kind of what happens in one game affects what happens in the other, and stuff like that. I'll do like campaigns between the two. I also think what could end up potentially happening in not too distant future, as this is probably a game system that hasn't been explored for a while, is Epic 40k. Or could be Epic 30k in this case, but I definitely think Epic is gonna the Epic scale games are gonna come back. It seems like a sensible move from GW if that's what they do decide. And then other than that, you can just see some little drop pods in the back, so I guess there's going to be some drop pod models coming out at some point. Anyway, so that's the front of the box. Like I say, it's very kind of nostalgic for me. I just wish we they kind of had some more of this quality miniatures when I was sort of growing up, but I think when you back in the day, you would have never known that when that sort of the stuff that I was buying and painting and playing with would ever kind of sort of morph into like the sort of Primaris era, like just really cool models, and now these are being revisited. So yeah, let's just get this open. Always exciting. So just before we open it, let's see what's on the back. So as you can see, this is basically all the stuff that you get in the box. Again, the Spartan tank, Contempt of Dread. I think it's 10 Cataphractii Terminators, 40 Marines in Mark 6 armour, which is a fucking lot of Marines, excuse my French. And then we've got the two Praetors there. So I'm not really sure. You can just see them at the bottom. The one with the power axe and then the one with the power sword. So I think looking at it, I probably prefer this guy over that guy. But again, that's just preference. Thinking is that a Volkite pistol just on his waist there? And it looks like he's got one. That's pretty cool. Again, models are all looking, really like, like very sleek. I think to a degree, really, with the actual just the tactical guys. There is quite a lot of detail, but there's also the very, like I say, very sleek, very streamlined, which I think is probably a intentional move, because I think with this, I know that they're already doing upgrade sprues and upgrade boxes for you to kind of like customize them. I think these are kind of more of a blank palette, or a blank slate, clean palette, whatever, that you can kind of dress, paint the armor up and take it whichever way you want to go. Whether you wanted to do Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Night Lords, you could it doesn't really matter. You can kind of paint these up how you want, and also it makes Games Workshop more money when they sell all the fancy bits to customize your Legion you know, when you're already buying the Marines, then you're going to pay another like 20, 30, 40 quid just to get different heads and whatnot. But you know, it's just a cynic in me. So aside from the minis, we've got the Rulebook, a couple of reference sheets, which again, that was something that was like you're seeing in second edition, third edition come in the box. So again, a bit of nostalgia there for me. You get the bunch of dice and templates, and also the old school range rulers. So I say dice because this actually comes with scatter dice. So obviously the scatter dice are back in the rules, which I'm quite pleased about. Which to anyone who didn't know, quite a lot of times if with certain weapons that come with you use the blast marker on, either if you, I can't remember if it was if you rolled, like I say, you rolled a low number, or you I think no, they had scatter rules. That's what, you had a separate scatter rules. You would basically fire it, and then if you got it, you would roll one of the scatter dice, which some would have a hit on it. So if you got a hit, it would go directly where you wanted it to, and if it got an arrow, you'd roll one dice or two dice, and it would scatter in that direction. So they were just a little like just a fun little mechanic that was in the game. But anyway, without digressing any further, let's see what's in the box. Always a wonderful feeling opening a brand new box set. So let's put that to the side. So smell that plastic. So you see that this guy is a really chunky old box, and then just round the side, let me show you there. Got some. They're just actual drawings. They're not the actual. That's pretty cool how they've done that on the side. So basically got all of the minis for the different two different factions, and show you how to paint them. So this again, it's people call these slapsticks, but these are the range rulers that I think people used to. God, the amount of the times I end up having like a sword fight with my brother with these things, but they're just like a plastic ruler, and they've just got like a inch scale just down there, and you could use these instead of get them off. You could use these instead of using like an actual tape measure or whatever. So we've got our flamer marker, our flamer template, and our two blast templates. So you use these for, back in second edition, you were actually rules for just like throwing grenades that you could choose for your squad. So I think maybe instead of firing the weapons, they could throw grenades, and then you would kind of use these. You might have one of these for like a big ordnance shell. I think of like the Imperial Basilisk used to fire these at people, and then flamer template. So again, I haven't seen these for a few editions, but I'm quite happy that these are back. There's a hell of a lot of plastic in this. So let's get all the plastic out. We can have a look at what's in it. I'll just set this to one side. So I usually always count half of a big one as a sprue. So we got 2 sprues there, and that is, so these are all the Terminators. Got looks like an upgrade sprue here for. This looks like it might be. I think this is a general upgrade sprue. It's definitely got some. Those are the heads for the Praetors, and it's got some banners and lightning claw bits, bunch of pistol pouches and bayonets and stuff. So we've got 1, got 2, got 3 of those. So these two look like the Praetor. So this is the sprue for the Praetor with the power sword, and then the one with the power axe. We'll have a closer look at them in a little bit. So then we've got, so this is our tactical marines. Oh, we got another upgrade sprue. So is that 1, 2, 3, 4? So that might be 8. Yeah, because if there's 40 marines, you might get 1 of those per 10. So like this is, again, there's a tactical, another tactical. So these guys are all the tactical guys, it looks like. Okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got 8 sprues of that, so they must be each 5 marines on a sprue. So this is part of the tank. So this is a nice big model. So just put him to one side. I'm running out of space now. So we've got another. So we've now got 4 sprues for the Cataphractii Terminators. So is that the tank or the dread? That's the tank. And then there's all the hatches and bits of gun and stuff for the tank. All our tracks and part of the hull. And then same again. There's sort of you can see the inner doors for this. But I wonder if there's a fully, like a bit like the Land Raider, if the inside has got details on there. So there's some hull sections. So the same. So the tank, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 big sprues, and then we've got 2 sprues with basically the weapons and the hatches and stuff on. Oh, and another one. So that's. Actually, what's this? So there's the dreadnought. You can see the body. It looks to me like this is either dreadnought weapon. Yeah, it's definitely some of the dreadnought weapons in this sprue, but I think there might be some of the weapons for the tank on here as well, because they look like the bolt guns that come with the tank. So that might actually be spread over 2, or potentially they're just weapon options for the dreadnought. That would make sense as well. So I think 2 sprues for the dreadnought, 4 big sprues and 2 small sprues for the tank. So let's start off and have a look at the dreadnought. So you can see that it's kind of body. That's some cool bits. Now there's got like an option for a missile launcher that you can put on the top of it, a bit like the Cyclone missile launchers on old school Terminators. It's pretty cool. Now if this is all weapons for the Dread, then we've got some what looks like auto guns, melter, couple of bolters to make some twin link bolters. Those twin linked. Yeah, twin link last cannons, twin linked auto gun. That's pretty cool. So it looks like you've got some weapon options. So quite a lot of DACA. So let's have a look at the Marines. I've got a feeling, I think the Cataphractii Terminators are just the Cataphractii Terminators that are available now, and we'll come back to them in a second. But like I say, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and looking like there's no A or B sprue, it would seem. These look all, says at the top, Legion Mark IV armour. You can see that. So Yeah, these are not 4, these are not 4. Yeah, so that's a little bit, doesn't surprise me, but a little bit disappointing, as that means there's only going to be 2, 3. Wow. So it looks like you've basically got two bodies or body positions, and then it looks to me like, so is that a third one? So what they've done is these 3 are essentially the same pose, but they've done some very, very minor tweaks. The detail on the marine, so where they've got like little, like panels or vents and stuff, really, a few of the pipes coming off them or whatever these little bits are meant to be. So very, very small details to make them kind of appear a bit different. And then I think it looks like there's a leg that you can they made this so you attach like a bit below the knee piece here, and I think with that you can have a guy who's just kind of standing flat-footed and planted, and a guy who's actually walking. So that's interesting. Other than that, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beaky heads, and I think there's some slight variances on them, again just where they placed vents and grills and stuff like that, and some of the on head camera, and then as well as that you've got 1, 2, you've got 2 bare-headed guys. So you've got one with a sort of rebreather but a bare head, and then you've got one guy who's just like shouting. Get that to focus. It's not going to focus. But yeah, guy who's kind of shouting his mouth off. There you go. There's the guy with the rebreather, but you can see what I mean with the very small changes on the words where they've placed grills and things like that, and the same with these. You can see around his groin there, little panel, slight different change with the panel. So yeah, I mean they are cool models. The thing what I was wanting to see with these is what, in terms of scale, they how they compare. And if I just grab, so this is one of obviously Primaris guy that I painted up is Marine's Errant. So I just need to base this guy, but I just wanted to kind of, I know it's a bit difficult to compare, but if you sort of see, it'd be a good one to do it with. So let's just take one off a sprue and then we can have a look at it properly. See, with these live monologue videos, this is like, I'm never sure where they're going to go when I do like a box open or something like this. So So that's where we're at in terms of sort of the rough height difference. This guy's fairly upright. He's one of the guys that are walking. You can just see where, in terms of the two legs, I guess. And there's kind of like got his toe flexed on one. So it might be better to show it on that one. So it's a good, I'd say, from foot to knee, it's a good 3-4 millimeters shorter, I guess. So then, but you can see sort of like if you put the sort of the top where like the neck of the armor starts and the neck of the armor, it's a little bit shorter. So I think they've stretched these out a little bit. Definitely around the thigh, so they're less. They've straightened them up and stretched them out. It'll be interesting to see once they actually got these guys built. See, did see one guy on Instagram who he actually filled the neck sort of cavity with milliput just to make the neck a little bit longer, so it gave the impression that the marine was a little bit higher to kind of get it more closer to true scale. But it's not to just put him safe so I don't lose him. So let's have a look at the upgrade sprues next. So again, there's 4 and these all look identical. So I mean, there is a hell of a lot of plastic and a hell of a lot of marines in this box, so I can't complain too much. So it's difficult to get the focus properly, but there's a lot of pouches. So the gun would add a little bit of extra detail. Now, interestingly, there's an A there, which usually when you have an A on it, it would signify that there's a B to this upgrade sprue. Perhaps that they print them together, an A and a B, but you have to buy them separate. So on the actual, they've got the sort of classic chain axe type chain blade bayonet, and then on the upgrade sprue they've got again just a sort of more classic, just non-chain, I guess non-power bayonet that you could put on the front of your bolt guns. So it's got got some of the can't remember what they're called, but you know, like the kind of the Roman sort of / Greek style sort of I don't know I don't know what to call it, but like, you know, feathers, almost like a brush that goes stick on top of the helmets to go on top of the leader helmets. I did notice there was actually one of the Marines helmets had a little point on top, which that must be where this joins to. But then there's various, looks like scrolls, grenades, rebreathers, but you could use that can be put on around the utility belt. Looks like an Auspex. They're slightly different. The handles on the side rather than at the bottom, which is makes it a bit smaller. And then there's what looks like a power claw. So I guess that would possibly attach to that power fist there, I guess. Maybe not, maybe that's a separate, maybe that goes, there's definitely a power claw and a power fist There's the hand, there's the fingers to the power fist there, and then there's another sword, power sword. So whether that's for the leaders, the Praetors or not, I'm not too sure. So with the Cataphracti Marines, like I say, the Cataphracti Terminators, I'm pretty sure that these are just what you can buy out the Horus Heresy range already. I may be wrong, they maybe have updated them, but it comes with a sprue with the bodies, legs, storm bolters, and then some of the shoulder pads, pretty much. These are pretty cool models. These are one of my sort of favourite out of the 30k range, to be honest, and they do stand more upright as well, which, you know, they're much bigger than the just normal tactical Marines, which is good. And then the other sprue, this is all the shoulder pads and then the close combat weapons, pretty much. But there's the heavy twin-linked heavy flamer there, looks like, and then but all the rest of them, we've got power claws, power fists, chain fists, and then just a normal just gauntleted hand with a power sword. And you've got a couple of little the shoulder like shields for putting you know, little transfers on or whatever, little heraldry kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. So then let's have a look at the tank. So we have got, like I said, this is all looks like all the hatches. We've got hatches, all the things that you can pintle mount. Definitely some Marines that you can have sticking out the top. There's a few head options. Oh, interestingly, that's an older. I'll show it on that one. Maybe I'll show it now. That's a Mark III helmet, I think. It's non-beaky. Mark III, Mark IV. And then we've got a couple of guys with the just heads up. It's really annoying me that won't focus. There we go. You can see that's a Mark III or Mark IV helmet. And then same with the shoulder pad as well. There's also some like little dozer blade to go on the front of your Marine, so that's pretty cool. So then we've got these are the weapons. So the weapon systems are for I think there's a twin link bolt gun on the top, and then I think it's like, is it? I think it's a quad linked last cannons that are on each sponton, which is mental. So yeah, this has got eight last cannons, and then twin linked heavy bolters, I think, on the top, which is a crazy amount of firepower when you think that this is a troop transport, and it's going to have, like, you know, probably offloading like at least 5 Terminators as well. So then we've got the tracks in some part of the hull. Now the tracks are really wide. They're probably twice as wide as the sort of Lehman Russ tracks. If you think of like a Lehman Russ or a Chimera or something, twice as wide. So they're huge. So obviously more sort of the size of like a Land Raider in terms of the size of this vehicle, and then obviously the tracks to go with it, which is, I mean, it's going to be a really big model. Now this one's got 2 of the hull sections. So it's got an internal door shown from the outside, but interestingly on this side it's not really modelled. there's no detail. So I do hope that the inside of it is fully detailed, because the hatch does actually open. What's that? Ah, yes. So these sections here are the inside of the the walls of like the chassis. So it does look like it's detailed, and then you've got that's a floor section, it looks like, and then you've got the inside of that's the bottom piece of the hatch, and then is that the top of the hatch? No, that's the actual top of the tank there. That's the bit for underneath that goes over the. Oh no, actually, I think that's an inside of the roof of the actual tank. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, it is detailed inside, it looks like, which I'm pleased about. Yeah, so here's some more of the chassis pieces. It's got some more of the arms of what would be the guy out of the top, and interestingly, it's got a Sons of Horus plastic, molded icon. Two actually, got two there, and then it's got some of the double-headed eagle with the thunder bolts. However, it is Imperial. Oh, it's got two more. So it's got quite a few Sons of Horus pieces, and it's got another little bit with just a skull and wreath. So that's pretty cool. And there's another, just see it there. There's a little pointing hand, so I guess you can have the guy on top pointing forward, or maybe he's holding something. Maybe we could use to put something in to hold. Maybe there's like binoculars or something like that. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the sprues, other than the Praetor. That's the last bits to look at. So we start off with the guy with the power sword. So I mean, these are easily the most detailed part, but that's got a really nice looking cloak. See his body section, and then these are wearing. Is he actually in? No, he's in wearing power armor. It's the power armor is really bulky and quite ornate. So there's like the greaves actually look a little bit like the cataphracti Terminators there, and then very ornate breastplate. Really the way that they've done the cloak is actually really, really nice. That'll be a really nice piece to paint. And then he's got like a sort of headdress on the back of him. Two head options actually. So there's a beaky option, and then there's the guy with the bare face with the very ornate moustache. So that's pretty cool. It looks like there's another little headdress there. Sick. And then finally, we've got the Praetor with the more studded armour and the double, double-handed sort of power axe, I guess that is. He's got a nice flowing cape as well. And so this guy, he's got a beaky helm you can choose, and then he's got like a burr head with a top knot, which is pretty cool. Excellent. And that backpack is really cool with the skulls and the Imperial Eagle. That's sick. So that's all the minis. And like I say, that is you can see in the background here, you can see like literally a pile of sprues, like a foot high. So that's going to take quite some time to assemble and put all together, but that's really nice. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that. So we'll just bring the box back. So like I said, you can see how big this guy is, and much is actually contained within. So we've got our little Horus Heresy separator, which this is how they generally package the box up. And then so it's got, it looks like, yeah, if you so this isn't, so these are some other models what you can get with the, you know, for this game system. So yeah, the Cataphractii Terminators, that's what's in the box here that I painted up, was the Imperial Fists. And then there's also the Tartaros Terminators. That's an existing set. I'm pretty sure that's an existing set. These are both existing sets, but I wonder if there is actually a few upgrades on the. I'm not too sure really with that. So then that's a Legion Praetor, a different one, but one in Terminator armor, and I think that's an existing model. So Legion Special Weapons upgrade set is shown on Mark 6 Tactical Legionnaires. Okay. So yeah, that's the existing tactical Marines, like tactical squad, and that we've just looked at, but they've been upgraded. And interestingly, I know that because it's like Legion era when the squads were much bigger, they packaged these tactical squads up in lots of 20, and I guess that's what they've done with the Terminator squads as well. It comes in 10s rather than 5s. And then we've got here the Sicaran battle tank. I've got the Kratos heavy assault tank, which I think if I do get anything else from this game system, it's going to be this guy, because that looks awesome. And then I've got Demius pattern Rhino, which is pretty similar to the Rhino that you can currently get. It's just got some different armour and the more old school sort of two little strips at the front, but I wonder if it's got that old school you know, the single slit. The Rhino was one of the first models that I ever purchased as a kid, outside of obviously the old school Rhino, and then finally that's the Contemptor Dread, but I think that's got upgrade sprues on it, upgrade pieces, so that's nice. Now I always like to have a look at this. Oh wow. So we've got the Rulebook / Law Book. That is absolutely thick. That's huge. Let's compare that to. So I think this is 8th edition. So that's the difference in size. So that's pretty. It's probably 50% thicker than the 8th edition Rulebook, which is crazy. So I think there's about 340 pages, something like that in. So let's open this up. Now I've just spotted something already about this, which makes me a little bit sad, but it is Games Workshop these days. Obviously Games Workshop's books, and you know, when they set up the battles and whatnot, there is somewhat of a catalogue feel to a lot of Games Workshops. You know, books what they produce. Oh, thank the Lord. Oh, I was just about to say where I was going with that is, it looks like they've used the back to just promote the Horus Heresy books and the Siege of Terror books, but fortunately that is just a separate piece of promo. So we got the Primarch's books, Horus Heresy, which awesome books. I've not read any of the Siege of Terror ones yet, but I've read most of the Horus Heresy ones and they're sick. So also on the back is some of the data cards, what we previously mentioned. So again, this is like nostalgia. So it looks like there's two cards, one for each player, which will have the sort of summary, sort of reference sheet with like summary of the game on, the turns and that. But one of the things I'm really happy about is that there's a return to kind of having the roll to hit and roll to wound tables. So this is something that is not in the sort of later editions, but basically if you would have this is your target's toughness. So say if you've got a toughness 6 character and you're firing a weapon strength 7 weapon, if you're assuming that you've hit them and everything, you would get a roll. You'd look down the table, so toughness 6, weapon strength 7, so you need a 3+ to hit. So that was always, but I wonder if there's going to be modifiers, because if you go back to like 2nd edition, there's tons of modifiers. So like you could have, if like for example, if you're I think if like your miniature, say your squad had either like moved or run or say scaled over something, they would have like a minus modifier on the roll to hit, which would basically mean that like kind of ballistic skill went down that turn, for while they were moving or climbing over something. Same if you were firing at people who were behind like cover, there might be, depending whether it was like soft or hard cover, there would be like a modifier for, if they're in cover, there's a -1 to hit. So if when you rolled your dice to hit, you would have to like take one off the rolls, or maybe add one what was required to the roll of your dice. So they were kind of a bit more, what's the word? I guess the rules were a little bit more colourful than they are these days, where it tends to be kind of focused on, the game being sort of more, what's the word? I'm trying to choose my word very carefully because I don't want to upset people, but it's basically, it's more approachable for, people who maybe haven't played Tabletop or Warhammer before. So like I said, I've got a big massive thick rulebook. I'll come back to that in a moment. We'll just have a look at some other stuff. So here's all our instructions. So it's also mixed in with a certain amount of rules. So surprisingly, I don't know if either Games Workshop being cheap, is they actually moved away for, I've not seen black and white instructions for quite a while, which is strange. And then there's some just rules and sort of points lists and whatnot, stats lists for the. So this is like basically like this is a mini codex for doubling up with your instructions, which is again, like I say, quite a different way of approaching things than things I've been for quite a while, but whatever. So we got our dice, craps and the bases, and transfer sheet, which has got transfers for it's for both Imperial Fist and for Sons of Horus. And as I mentioned before, back to the scatter dice, which is pretty sick. So let's pop that box over here and let's have a little. This is what I've most been excited for, to get a look at what's in the actual rule book. So, night falls on the golden age of humanity. Sun shall turn upon the Father, and his worlds drown in blood. The eye shall open, and the galaxy will burn. Pretty sick. So I won't spoil too much of the readings and the thing if you're planning on getting it yourself. But let's have a quick flick through. Oh, it's really, oh wow. Okay. So there's some, you can see some actual awesome artwork already. I'm trying to be like, it's all really new and it's not been opened before, and it's so we've got a little galaxy map of the Imperium. Yeah, the same one in the front. Again, it's interesting that they chose to just do the inside cover of this black and white, which is odd. So there's your iconic piece of 30k Horus Heresy artwork when the Emperor confronts Horus on the Vengeful Spirit, which was Horus's flagship, and that's just after Sanguinius, who's the Primarch of the Blood Angels. In case you're not familiar with the setting, he's just been killed by Horus, and this is kind of like just before the start of like the final battle between the Emperor and Horus. So it's always been an awesome piece of artwork. And remember that Mike McVeigh, the guy who used to sort of be almost like, he was like old school Darren Latham, I guess, before I think Darren Latham's left Games Workshop now to do his own thing, but or what's his name, Duncan Rhodes maybe, but like those sort of guys who've been, you know, kind of like poster boys for the heavy metal team, and that now, you know, in the recent years, the guy called Mike McVeigh, who was that sort of chap back then, and he did like a diorama of the final battle, which it looks a bit goofy now, obviously, because he was using, you know, the old school miniatures when they weren't made, you know, digitally like they are now, and they were all hand sculpted. But I mean, it's still, you know, it's pretty cool. Of all the conflicts that have beset the Imperium of mankind, it is the rebellion of Warmaster Horus, the Horus Heresy, which has left the greatest scar upon its fabric. Even now, centuries after its end, when few save ancient and shriveled creatures such as myself remember the horror of those dark years, men speak it with awe, for those were the last days of legend, when the Emperor and his sons, the mighty Primarch, strode forth to war, when the dominion of mankind spread across the galaxy and none could challenge our might. The last days of a golden age, long since consigned to dust by the actions of one man. It is the curse of history that few care to remember, other than those fragments that exalt them, to relive those glory days endlessly while the present crumbles around them. So Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness, Rulebook. So looks like it's looks like we've got a bunch of lore at the front, and the core rules, some info on the unit types and the terrain, and we've got a special rules section which is about 25 pages long, and then looks like you've got the sort of how you basically like types of, you know, it'll be match play and narrative campaign sort of thing, I guess, like a 40k setup. So I'll have a quick flip through here, just mainly look at the artwork. I think we've got a big picture of the Emperor and his custodes. The Age of the Emperor. To understand the tragedy of the Horus Heresy, it is first vital to understand what came before it. Both the shifting, tremendous millennia of strife and the two brief shining centuries in which the Emperor walked amongst his subjects and dispelled the darkness. So again, we've got got an Imperial Knight there. This is some details of the Dark Age of Technology, Age of Strife, some lore behind that, Unification Wars. Oh wow, that is sick. So it looks like we've got a bunch of, well, got some knights. Looks like ACKNOWLEDGEMENT force. So obviously Unification Wars. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of the lore if you're not. But these were all kind of things that led up to, you know, in the millennia and centuries before the Horus Heresy started. Got a Tetmarine Magos from Mechanicus, as it was then. I think it was Mechanicum now. Is it Mechanicum now? Or Mechanicus? I think it was Mechanicus was the old way for calling AdMech, and then it's Mechanicum now. It might be vice versa. I can never remember. But so we got some pictures of the tanks. Again, it's the custodies on what would be Earth, or Terra. Oh yeah, Remembrances and Iterators. So they were when they were going on the Great Crusade, and the Emperor was like reuniting all the worlds. There were whole ships of basically kind of like historians and poets and whatnot were there to record all the great, you know, events and whatnot. So there's another relatively new but quite famous piece of artwork of the Primarchs. You can see Fulgrim, Horus, Rogel Dawn, Gigantican. I think that's Angron there, looks like, might be Angron. Sanguinis on the end, I think that looks like, oh, that's Mortarion. And then there's obviously Magnus the Red there. That's pretty cool. You've got, I love these types of artworks where it's the sort of like all the Marines sort of like lined up, you know, either on parade or sort of ready to, you know, that could be stood in like the hold of a ship, like ready to be, you know, dropped onto a planet, ready for war and stuff. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, they've used the what's his name? Oh, what's that? It's Michelangelo, isn't it? Is it Lucidian Man or something? But they've done that for the Space Marine. That's pretty cool. That's all showing all the different like parts of the, you know, implants that the Space Marines have. Secondary heart, Lyman's ear, Susan membrane, all this kind of bits that, you know, just make Space Marines. And there's some bits on the armour. So it was Mark II armour actually, I think. That the helmet for the tank looks like that's from Mark III. Yeah, so I think this was it Mark II's iron? Oh no, Mark III's the iron armour. Mark III iron armour. So I've got some of these guys. Maximus armour Mark IV. Heresy Mark V, they're the one. This is what I meant with the studs before earlier. So I actually got my marks mixed up. But yeah, they had reinforced sort of armor plates, and they were like studded onto the body. So basically, extra armor just laid over the base armor. And then the Corvus, which is my Mark VI, which is what's included here. That's done up as a white scar. I'm liking how they're dishing out the, you know, artwork between the Marines. Got Dark Angel there. See, if I didn't paint so much black already because I'm doing Black Templars, I'd think about doing the Dark Angels because, you know, I like the black and red and all the checks and stuff on it. But Emperor's Children, Fulgrim's Legion. Fulgrim being one of the really good book in the Horus Heresy series. Iron Warriors is potentially where I might go with these guys. So I just love the way they look, the lore behind them, and I'm reading Storm of Iron at the moment, and it's such a sick book. But yeah, I love a bit of black and yellow chevrons, warning, hazard stripes, and white scars. This is what I mean. I think like you look at how like kind of ornate that looks with all the little bits and pieces on the. Obviously the games are going to be doing pretty much upgrade sprues for all that, I would say. Space Wolves, for me, the cheesiest kind of, I don't know, I've never really liked Space Wolves. I don't know if it's just the name or what. I mean, they in principle, look, I think they've always looked good in the lore, but never quite translated well into the models. Imperial Fists, or Rogel Dawns chapter, or Legion rather. Night Lords. Also been reading the Night Lords omnibus and nearly finish it now, and that's such a good series. So Storm of Iron and the Night Lords omnibus, definitely recommend that to anyone who's into Space Marines. The Blood Angels, the Sanguinius' Legion. Oh, that's a cool standard. So I was very like Greek / Romanesque. Iron Hands, Ferrus Manus. So the World Eaters, those bloodthirsty core knights out there. That's the original armour, it looks like. So I think it then changed to white and blue. The Ultramarines. So any people who like vanilla ice cream, this is the chapter for you. Mortarian's Legion, the Death Guard. This could be another way that I go, but I have painted quite a lot of both my sort of version of the Death Guard if they were still loyal, and then I've painted a bunch of Chaos Death Guard. So I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna go with either Death Guard or Iron Legion, Iron Warriors. Sorry, is for my legions. So 1,000 Suns. I've always wondered why they're called 1,000 Suns, because obviously if you look at the old or the current law, when everything was, the Codex chapters are all about 1,000 Marines, but obviously when the legions, they were much bigger than that. So I've always wondered where that name comes from, or was it a name that was kind of given to them and then kind of just they've had to create law around to sort of cover that, like obviously gap in the law for them, why they're actually called 1,000 Suns when, like I say, legions were much bigger than 1,000. Sons of Horus. So these were originally called the Lunar Wolves before they renamed that in Horus's honour, I guess, because he's the emperor, was the emperor's favourite son, before he fucked everything up. The World Bearers, they're like the fanatics who were spreading the Imperial Creed, and they got humbled by the basically the emperor was like, stop worshipping me, and he fucking just blew the entire capital city of the planet up in front of them and made them all kneel as a legion, like literally kneel as a legion. Salamanders. There's quite a cult following of these guys, but I've never really liked the Salamanders. I'm not too sure why. Just never. Yeah, I think potentially the thought of painting flames on everything kind of scared me off them. I think back in the day. But, so Raven Guard. This is Corvus Corax, his Legion, with the Space Emos, and finally the Alpha Legion, which very underrated and cool Legion. So the only Legion with actually got 2 Primarchs, Alferis and Omegon. So he's known as Alferis and Omegon, but actually two twins who actually run the Legion together. So you got Talons of the Emperor and Sisters of Silence. These are kind of like the Terran based almost, like Custodes and bodyguards for the Emperor. Legio Custodes. And then you've got some of the other officers, assassins and whatnot. Solar Auxilia. So these are a bit like his human guardians. And Mechanicum, yeah, so it was Mechanicum originally, and now it's Mechanicus. Some of the Titans, and then more law. And now we start to get into the old chaos creeping in. Got some like little chronology. So, oh wow, it's really detailed, look at that. What, 1, 2, 3, 4 double spreads. Going from the Triumph at Ullanor, so that was the end of the Unification Wars. So that was basically when everything was sound, and then the Emperor decided to make Horus his War Master, and then he would go back to Terror and just, I don't know, just chill out in his palace, probably with all of his Sisters of Silence, who get a bit with concubines behind the scene. Or maybe he's, I don't know, he's Custodes, who knows? Maybe he did both. Emperor swings both ways. And then, so basically started off with the Triumph of Ullanor and going all the way up to the events of the Siege of Terror. So that's really cool. So yeah, so tons of lore to get involved in. There's a more coloured version of the map what's on the inside. Covers. And now we're going to the core rules, so these will be all basically rules, how to play the game, and like I say, it looks like we're going back to some of the more old school rules rather than the really quick fire, noob rules of today, let's say. So yeah, so these are all rules. Special rules. So all this is the same. Not the same, but this is just our rule section. There's some nice actual shots of the actual models on the table. Some different people's armies all painted up. Quite a lot of them, really. And then we're on to the how to play, battles, match play, campaigns. Oh yes! Oh. They've gone back to the original. They went back to the Force Organisation charts from 3rd edition. That's so good. So basically, if you were fielding, say it was like a 2,000 point army or something, which was fairly standard back then, with like a sort of standard sized engagement. I think maybe I'm making, kind of pulling this out of my, the annals of my brain, but I think like you'd agree how many Force Organisation charts you could use, and it might be like per 2,000 points you could use this. But yeah, you basically the ones that I coloured in, you had to have a HQ and at least 2 troops units in your army, and then you can see just behind there's like some more squares, so you could have up to 6 troops, up to 3 HQ, and then with the elites, which would be like your Terminators and that kind of stuff, you could have as an option up to 4. And I don't know if this was exactly the same as, but this is how it kind of worked. And then your fast attack and heavy support, you could have up to 3 of those as 3 squares. So you basically use that as, and now what it didn't have was fortification and Primarch. Yeah, it was more like kind of this one. But yeah, so basically you had a points value of your army, and then you also had to, which you couldn't go above, and then you had to obey the actual restraint, or you had to kind of fit in stuff also organization to, and this basically stopped you spamming, so basically like going, oh well, I'm just going to do like Terminator spam or something, or whatever the potentially cheese potentially have any way to like cheese or spam an army, so you had to kind of abide by that. Cool. Yeah, so this was a table that they had in various different things, which your allies table. So obviously you wouldn't use be all Space Marines and Space Marines, but you would have, basically, if you look along here, say for Dark Angels, it has like a little symbol, and you can see each one of these. This would have been like Sworn Allies, distrusted allies, I think. Yeah, it says and then basically hated allies. Foe, hated foes. So you couldn't. So for example, like Ultramarines would hate Tyranids, so they could never ally with them. But there might be some circumstances where like Imperial Guard would ally with Orcs, to fight like say Tyranids or someone, like a bigger foe. So yeah, basically this is just showing which ones you're allied with and which ones your enemies. Yeah, so cool. Oh wow, look at that. Big ass Mechanicum force with some knights and massive dreadnought. Cool, and there's some pictures of the some battlefields people are fighting over. Some more. So this bit's got more actual photos rather than artwork of the different models. Wow, so awesome. So I'll have a look forward to actually properly getting my head into that, and then to making this massive big pile of minis before it gets added to my pile of shame. So anyway, quite a long video, well over an hour now, so I'm going to cut it off at this point. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed seeing what's in the new Age of Darkness box as much as I have. So thanks for watching, everyone, if you made it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.